Let's talk about the decimals and percents. In this video, we'll go over how to write decimals as a fraction. We will add and subtract decimals. We will multiply and divide decimals. We will write fractions as decimals. We will write percents as decimals and decimals as percents. Let's first understand about the decimal. Here's the decimal given to you, and you can see there are numbers which are before the decimal sign and there are numbers which are after the decimal sign. This is another way to represent the part of a whole beside a fraction. The whole number part is to the left of the decimal, which represents the dollar bills. The decimal point you can read as end. The fractional part is to the right of a decimal, which represents your change. Let's first learn how to multiply and divide decimal by a shortcut method. This method is useful when you're multiplying by powers of 10. Powers of 10 meaning multiplying by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, and so forth. We will move the decimal place to the right. Let's look at an example. Here's our first example, 8.875 times 100. Let me get the pen and let's get started. 100 has two zeros. 0.875 has three numbers. So we are moving two places to the right. The decimal will go between 7 and 5. And therefore, our answer will look like 87.5. Let's try another example. 6.79 times 1,000. 1,000 has three zeros, and therefore we will move three places to the right. We have 1 and 2. We do not have a third number. We're going to use 0 as a placeholder. And therefore, our final answer will look like 6,790. Key thing to remember is that whenever you multiply, your answer will tend to get bigger than the original number. Here's our last example. 82.13 times 10. You're multiplying 82.13 by 10. You have 1 0 and you will move one place to the right. The decimal will go between 1 and 3 and your final answer should look like 821.3. The original number was 82.13 and the answer became 821. That's how you remember you have to move the decimal place to the right. Let's do the same thing this time, but we will divide decimals with the powers of 10. We're going to move this time to the left. Here's our first example. 96.3 divided by 10. In 10, we have 1 0. We're moving left. The decimal will move and go between 9 and 6. Our final answer will be smaller than the original number. The answer will be 9.63. Let's look at another example. 654.7 divided by 1,000. 1,000 has three zeros, and we will move three places to the left. 1, 2, and 3. The decimal will be in the front of the 6. So you see that the final answer got smaller than the original 1.6547. Let's try one last one on this one. We have 8.93 divided by 100. 100 meaning two places to the left. Now, when I move my decimal, I only have one number. I still need to move a second time. I'm going to use a 0 as my placeholder, and I must put the decimal in the front of the 0. My final answer will look like 0.0893. This technique of shortcut with the powers of 10 is useful if the calculator is not allowed during the quiz or the test. Let's convert a decimal to a fraction. We will follow the two-step process. First, write down the decimal divided by 1. So basically, we're changing into a fraction. Then we'll multiply both the top and the bottom numbers by powers of 10. It could be 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, etc. If there is a 1 number after the decimal point, we will multiply the top and the bottom by 10. If there are 2 numbers after the decimal point, then we'll multiply the top and the bottom by 100. And if there are 3 numbers after the decimal point, we'll multiply top and the bottom by 1,000. Let's look at the example. Write each decimal as a fraction. Do not write in a lowest term. We are not going to reduce. Here's our first example. 0.09. 0.09 has 2 numbers in it. So first of all, you will put 0.09 over 1 and you multiply by 100, top and the bottom, because it has 2 numbers after the decimal. So I wrote 0.09 over 1 times 100 over 100. This we have learned in the powers of 10. When we multiply by 100, we're moving 2 places to the right. My decimal will move after the 9. The top number is going to become 9 over 1 times any number stays the same. So you will have 100 on the bottom. And we just change a decimal into a fraction. So the final answer is 9 over 100. Let's try one more example, changing a decimal into a fraction. 3.7. 3.7 has a 1 number after the decimal, so we will multiply the top and the bottom by 10. So here we go. 3.7 over 1, I multiply by 10 over 10. My denominator will not change, it will stay 10. And on the top, I'm going to move 1 place to the right. That will make the top number to be 37. My final answer is 37 over 10. And that's how you change any decimal into fraction. Let's add and subtract now. We will follow the 2 steps. Place the digits of the decimal in the columns according to the place value. To avoid any errors, we will attach the 0 as a placeholder. Let's look at the example. 68.9 plus 3.546. We're going to add. First thing, we need to line up. When I say line up, I'm meaning I'm lining up the decimal and I'm lining up the 8, which is in 1's place, 3 is in which is 1's place. 9 and 5 both are in 10's place. So first thing is you want to make sure you line up correctly before you add. We will use a 0 wherever I see the space before I add, not to make any errors. Let's go ahead and start adding from the back. 0 plus 6 is 6. 0 plus 4 is 4. 9 plus 5 is 14. Write the 4 here and carry 1. The decimal will stay where it is. 8 plus 3 is 11. 11 plus 1 is 12. Write the 2 and carry 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. Our final answer looks like 72.446. Let's try one with the subtraction now. Same idea. We will subtract 43.5 minus 27.18. Let's first line up according to the place value. After you line them up, use the 0 wherever you see the space. With the subtraction, the only difference is the top number has to be bigger than the bottom number in order to subtract. You want to start from the back again. I cannot subtract the 8 from the 0, so I need to borrow from 5. 5 is going to become 4 and 0 is going to become 10. 10 minus 8 you can subtract now as a 2. 4 minus 1 will be 3. Bring down the decimal as is. And once again, when I try to subtract 7 from 3, I cannot because 7 is bigger than 3. I need to borrow. 4 is going to become 3 and the 3 is going to become 13. 13 minus 7 will be 6 3 minus 2 will be 1. Our final answer will be 16.32. So the key point is for adding and subtracting decimal is make sure you line them up correctly according to the place value. Let's multiply the decimals now. We will multiply normally ignoring the decimal points. We'll just multiply as a whole numbers. Then put the decimal point in the answer. It will have as many as decimal places as the two original numbers combined. Let's look at example. 9.32 times 0.4. 9.32 has two decimal numbers, and 0.4 has one number after the decimal. So 2 and 1 together combined will make it 3. You must have 3 numbers after the decimal in your final answer. Let's ignore the decimal for a moment and just make as a whole number. So we have 932 now, and we have 4, and we will just multiply like a whole number first. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. Write the 2, put the 1 on the top of the 9. 4 times 9 will be 36. 36 plus 1 is 37. So when I multiply as a whole number, I'm getting 3,728. Time to put the decimal back. 3 places. So from the back, you will count 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. This is where your decimal go. Your final answer should look like 3.728. That's your final answer. So the idea is to remove the decimals first, multiply as a whole number, and then you want to put the decimal back. Let's divide the decimal with the following step. Change the divisor, the number we are dividing by, into a whole number by moving the decimal point as many places as necessary to the right. You will skip step 1 if the divisor is already a whole number. Step 2, move the decimal point in the dividend, the number we are dividing into, to the right by the same number of places we did in step 1. Step 3, move the decimal point straight up and then divide as with the whole numbers to find the quotient, the answer. Let's look at the example. 8.965 is your dividend, 1.1 is your divisor. As you see, your divisor has a decimal and that needs to be removed. You have to move the decimal to the right and then make that 11 as your divisor. If I move the decimal one place to the right, I must do the same thing in my dividend by moving 1 point to the right. That makes it 89.65. Now we are ready to divide. 11 is my divisor. That goes out. And 89.65 will go in. You must know the 11 times table in order to divide. 11 goes into 89 8 times, and that will be 88. 89 minus 88 will be 1. The decimal will go straight up, and you want to bring down the 6. 11 will go into 16 one time, 11. 16 minus 11 is 5. Let's bring down our last number down, which is 5. 11 can go into 55 5 times. Let's subtract and we get the remainder to be 0. There is no other number to bring it down. Our quotient and answer will be 8.15. Let's try to write a fraction as a decimal. Fraction bar indicates the division also. So writing as a fraction as a decimal, basically we're dividing the numerator by the denominator. In this case, the 4 is your divisor, which will go out, and 19 is your dividend, which will go in. You can write 19 as $19.00. 4 goes into 19 4 times, which will give you 16. 19 minus 16 is 3. The decimal just carry above, and you want to bring down the 0. That makes it 30. 4 goes into 37 times. That will be 28. Subtract 30 and 28, you will get 2. Let's bring down one more 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. When we subtract, we're getting the remainder of 0, so no need to bring any more zeros. The quotient, our answer, is 4.75. So any fraction can be changed as a decimal by simply dividing. Let's convert the percents and decimals using a shortcut method. To convert a percent into a decimal, you move the decimal point 2 places to the left and drop the percent symbol. Percents are always out of 100. 854%. 854% meaning 8 divided by 854 divided by 100. So this should be 854 divided by 100. And now the decimal is right here. We're moving 2 places to the left. That's going to make 8.54. Let's try another example. 1.9%. Removing the percent sign, you're dividing by 100. After you divide by 100, you're moving 2 places to the left. 1 and second one, you can use a 0 and put the decimal in the front. The answer will be 0.019. So the shortcut techniques we used earlier, we can use again to change percents into decimal. Let's convert the decimal to a percent now. By moving the decimal point 2 places to the right, we will attach the percent symbol. Here's our first example. 0.005, you want to change into percent. You're going to multiply by 100%. When we multiply by 100%, we are moving 2 places to the right. The decimal will go right there. The answer will be 0.5%. Let's try one more. 2.35 multiply by 100%. Move the decimal 2 places to the right and attach the percent sign. The answer will be 235%. This finishes our video on percents and decimals, guys.